Hi everyone, welcome to School of Scarlet. I have another message for you today. So today's message is coming around perspective, and so what I'm seeing is boats. And so one of the things that I really like to do is to go boating, and I like to do this with my husband. We go boating in the Gulf of Mexico, and so we will go into the bay and go to Galveston. And so over there, you hardly ever see any boats when you're out going that way. And so I hardly ever see any boats other than the big, huge ships. And very rarely I'll see maybe another speedboat or something like that. But anyhow, I never really see any boats, but what I do see is a big, vast ocean. And as soon as you get into this big, vast ocean, it's like everything changes. The perspectives of everything change. Like, those problems that you had at home or whatever issues that were, going on at some place, as soon as you get into that water, they're gone because the perspective has changed. Everything has gotten bigger and you don't even see any of that. It's just water. And many of you may not relate to this message, but if you do, give me a thumbs up. If you've been boating before, if you've been out in the ocean or an open, vast water or something like that, you have experienced this. It's literally like in your being, you change. You realize there's a different perspective to life just by going somewhere different. So the message today is really to get out there, to get a different perspective. Now, what we really hear a lot about in different religious texts and just different wise people, they have gone up mountains, right? They've gone up different mountains, and from that mountaintop, they've gained a totally different perspective of life. And it's very similar to the experience I have with boating. It's really as if you get it to that top of that mountain and you look down and you see how small everything is. And that really shifts your perception to a more meta expanded view that allows you to see things really a little bit more clearly. Because many of us are taking things way too seriously. So when we gain an outside, a little bit more of an expanded perspective, we really see what matters and what doesn't matter. And a lot of us have had to face this in different ways, right? Health scares, just different traumas and things that have happened in life that shift our perspective to see it differently. But what's being called for here is just to simply go out in nature. It's not about gaining trauma or finding ourselves in difficult situations. It's literally about just going out and switching our perception by going to different locations in nature. So you're being called to go out in the ocean and experience the vastness of the ocean. You're being called to go into the forest and experience the vastness of the forest. Have y'all ever been hiking? If you've been hiking, comment down below how that is. A lot of people really enjoy that because it's an immersive experience with nature. You become one with it. And it's like the vibration of nature literally is that vibration of unconditional love. It vibrates at that level. So when you're outside, it's like all those worries go away, okay? And you're just one with nature. And as you begin to hike, let's say a forest or some place, again, you're not going to find very many people out there. You're not going to find very many things happening really other than what's happening within nature. So it really gives you this sense of oneness, a new perception of this reality, and it really allows you to kind of step back from your daily life. Most people's daily life entails getting up every day, being rushed to get to work, maybe sitting in rush hour traffic, dropping the kids off at daycare very rushed, just getting them dressed, doing all this stuff, leaving them there for 8 or 9 hours, coming back, after a long days of work that's probably very mundane to go pick them up and, have a little bit of time with them. And usually this is about an hour or two, dinner and bedtime, and then doing it all over again. So that's what most people's reality is like. And in between, maybe going to the grocery store, maybe going to the doctor, doing your errands, taking care of your health, like maybe every so often you go to the gym or something like that. But it doesn't really allow for the expansion. That feels very limited. As I say it, it really almost, I can't stand even talking about it really. It feels so limiting. But when we go out in nature, if we decide to switch things up and instead of working out in that gym that's always crowded with people that have had the same kind of day and they're pretty much worn out and exhausted and irritated, rather than going into that energy, you're being called to go out into nature, to expand, to take a walk outside, even if it's a new park. somewhere new you're going to, something like that, to gain a different perspective of life. It's not just this cocooned little life that you've been living. There is so much more out there. So go out into open waters, experience a boat ride if you have not done so. Experience nature like a forest, a hike if you have not done so. If you have not gone up a mountain and gotten to the very top and looked down, you're being called to experience that, to experience a different perception of life. You've experienced a lot of different perceptions and polarities of life. And a lot of those have been, like I say, have had to do with trauma, have had to do with childhood, many different things. But now you're being called to expand into this natural world, to gain your perception that way. So I recently watched a movie called Fly Me to the Moon. And I went to the movies and saw this movie, and it was a really good movie. But at one scene, they were trying to convince a congressman, some kind of somebody that was in politics, to donate money or to, support the space program to the moon. He was kind of hesitant or on the fence about it because he felt that the focus of space was taking too much away from God. He was a very religious man, and so he didn't want to put that money for that. So anyhow, in this movie, the actress Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum go out there to meet with this congressman, or and convince him to put the money that is in the government towards the moon project. Okay, so while they're doing this, it was very interesting the way they really talked to him. They explained it to him in a way that every astronaut, anyone who has expanded or been in space or seen the Earth, from far away, has actually not forgotten about God. They've actually come more in connection with God. And those people that didn't even believe in God, like total atheists who have been out in space, have all of a sudden experienced God because they experience it by gaining a different perspective, a larger, wider view. You see, our little minuscule problems are very small in the grand scheme of things. And there is a God, and there is a God, and we experience this when we gain more and more perception of our earth. But if we just sit in our little houses, never really leave, never really have the experiences of life, then we only know that. But there is so much more to know. And even just going out into the ocean, like I say, gains you a totally different perception of life. So you're being called today to go explore water, explore the forest, explore more expansion in your life. If you've been feeling like you need to travel or you've had a desire to travel, it's time to travel, to experience more cultures, experience more people, experience more of life. And in that, it'll gain you a larger perception of life and understanding of what is happening here. Also, you'll gain so much joy along the way in experiencing all the different things that this life and world has for us. So I hope that today you will go out a little further than what you've been doing on a regular basis, that you will take this message and expand yourself even more. So I hope that this message found you well. If it resonated with you, give me a thumbs up, a heart, comment down below how it resonated with you. I didn't see much of nature out here today, like anything to show y'all, but my dog Blue's walking around with me. He was inside. It's a very hot day here in Texas, so he was inside, but he insisted to come outside. He loves to be right next to me during these messages, so he's usually like walking around here or swimming in the pond in the back. So that's Blue. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching. I hope that y'all have a wonderful rest of y'all's day, and I hope that you will come back next time. I love you all.